Hello, I'm Dr. Scheidbach. I pastor Lighthouse Baptist Church in Santa Maria, California, and I'm your brain masseur. Get ready for your brain massage. The Bible says in Proverbs 28, verse 17, a man that doeth violence to the blood of any person shall flee to the pit. Let no man stay him. Now, what needs to happen to Nicholas Cruz is he needs to be executed for his crime. And because he's done violence to the blood of not just one person, but 17, and then about 15 more who've been wounded by him. And the Bible says he will flee to the pit and that no man should get in the way with that or interfere with it. Now, we're talking about the CNN rally versus reality show that went on in the wake of the Valentine's Day massacre of 2018. When Nicholas Cruz went on to the campus there of that school, Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, and massacred 17 of our young people and wounded another 15 or so. Now, in this segment, I'm going to address the issue, how do we deal with the liberals' blame game? And we'll talk about who is to blame. And of course, from the liberal side of the whole thing is Donald Trump. A teenage young lady gave a speech at this CNN town hall turned anti-Trump rally. And it's fair to say that young lady's speech lays out the liberal argument for gun control as clearly, as competently, and as completely as you're going to find anywhere. And I have decided to take that as an opportunity to just respond to the liberal argument. In this segment, we'll talk about dealing with or responding to the liberal blame game. This young spokesperson advocating for infringement upon Americans' right to self-protection proceeded to point her finger at what she believes are the culprits in this. So who is to blame? She made some good points here, I believe, at least in her opening remarks on this point in her speech. She asked what I asked also. You know, where were the neighbors? Where were the parents in this thing? Where are the teachers? What's going on here? How is it possible this kid could have been recognized by everybody who knew him as a threat, as a bomb about to go off, a ticking time bomb about to go off, and yet all the concerns that were expressed to those in charge who could have done something about it were ignored. I mean, the students complained that they often, repeatedly brought to the attention of those authorities around them the problem they were having with this kid, and nobody was doing anything about it. But then she went into the weeds of her argument and ended up staying there for the rest of it. And it came down to this: it was Trump's fault. And why? Well, because he supports the NRA. Yeah. And received campaign donations from the NRA. Imagine that. And insinuated that this somehow makes him responsible. You know, it's because he supports the NRA. Wow. All right. Of course, everybody she knows that the NRA is directly responsible. Of course, since, you know, they advocate for protecting the rights of Americans to keep and bear arms. That makes them responsible every time anybody gets shot with a gun. Not the guy that pulls the trigger, but of course, my audience probably does not need my help navigating the shallows of that vapid argument. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because it's pretty obvious. However, here's what I noticed, and frankly, it's really, really very sad. When she got to this part of her speech, her demeanor changed. Up till then, she was speaking from a point of view that could only be described as compassion, deeply felt conviction. I mean, she had me believing that this was all coming from her heart of hearts. There did not appear to be any sort of political agenda controlling her comments. Up to this point, no hint of an ulterior motive was evident in her expression. It looked authentic to me until she got to Trump. I thought that this was sad. I guess at that point she could not help herself. Her demeanor changed. You could see the snide, smug, arrogant, you know, nasty attitude come out that we see so often in the face of liberals. That sardonic smile, that, you know, cat got the mouse air, that snarky attitude, it all just showed up in her countenance, and it kind of entered into her tone. She was obviously getting to the real heart of her message at this point, and it was clear that at the bottom line, this message was a statement: I hate Donald Trump. She was delighting in politically stabbing the president on that stage. I said politically. It was obvious she felt like she was making real points with her supporters during this passage of her speech, although interestingly, this is not the part of her speech that drew the greatest amount of response, enthusiastic response from her audience. But I'll bet, it looked like she was looking down there at somebody. It might have been her parents. I'm not sure who it was, okay? But it wouldn't surprise me if it was that teacher that she mentioned earlier. I mentioned an earlier thing, the teacher who told the class that when she hears people say, my Second Amendment rights are important to me or something like this, that what she hears them saying is, my Second Amendment right, or my right to own a gun is greater, more important to me than your right to live. Remember that? Oh, man. But anyway, it turns out this was nothing but a I hate Trump rally masquerading as a we care about the kids rally. But she said something in this part of her speech that I thought was actually really a very, very good point and a great question. I thought it was excellent. She asked this. She said to Trump, she was kind of addressing him in a direct way, what would he do if it was his money that was threatened? She said, if it was your money, then what would you do, quote unquote? Well, I think I can speak to that. I believe that I can, with confidence, tell you what Trump would do if this was about his money. Well, first, let me tell you what he wouldn't do. He wouldn't tell his bankers to establish a gun-free zone at the bank. No siree. I'll tell you what Trump would do. He would do what any sane person would do, and that is he would establish armed guards to protect his money, and he would make sure that when it was transferred, it was moved by people carrying a gun on their waist and in an armored truck with little slots for guns to shoot out of. All right? That's what Trump would do. And that's what anybody with sense would do. And why aren't we doing something like that for our kids at school? I'll tell you something else, too. I'll tell you what Trump will do. If he is the man I think that he is, and his actions as president thus far show me that he is, well, he's going to take some real action to protect our kids. I think he's going to take some action that's effective. Although lately I've heard some waffling coming from him on his firm stance in protection of our Second Amendment rights. All we can do is pray, 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 and give him what counsel we can and help him through this. All right? He's going to do what needs to be done, I hope. He's going to address this as aggressively as he did ISIS. He should. And you are aware that Trump stopped ISIS, something Obama refused to do, by the way. The liberal policies only encouraged and strengthened and aided and abetting the murdering horde of ISIS that swept across Syria and into Iraq. You want to put the blood of your fellow students and teachers who were killed by Nicholas on Trump's hands and at his feet? How dare you? I say the blood of those murdered by ISIS in Syria and Iraq, by the same reasoning, should most certainly be laid upon the feet and on the hands of Obama and Hillary, by the way. Liberal policies could not and would not stop ISIS. Trump's policies did. And Obama's policies and liberal policies generally only exacerbate mass shootings. They doubled under his watch, a 100% increase in these incidents from Bush to Obama. But you watch what Trump does. Watch and we'll see. And pray. Pray he doesn't, backslide into some of his former liberal sentimentalities. He's done a very good job with the problems that he's addressed thus far. And I would hope he will take the action necessary to address this issue. Finally, let's hope someone is going to do something about this, and I mean do something, besides use it as a way to manipulate Americans to give up their guns. I'll tell you something else. I trust it will be thoughtful and prayerful. Thoughts and prayers. And it won't involve, I trust, depriving Americans of their inalienable right to keep and bear arms, to protect themselves and their families. It's not going to involve reducing Americans to become subjects to the state It will not be something so asinine as assuming or supposing that if you make a law against assault weapons, quote unquote, they suddenly disappear. If he's half as smart as I think he is, he's going to make certain our schools have law enforcement personnel on our campuses patrolling our schools. He's going to answer this evil by doing what God ordained government to do about evil, and that is to execute wrath upon the evildoer. Government, according to Romans 13, is to reward the righteous doer and execute wrath on the evildoer. And I think it's time we stop this nonsense of caring more about our money, about mammon, than we do about our kids. You get armed guards at virtually every bank I've ever been in. You need to have armed guards in our school. Next, I'm going to address the phenomenon of the left turning to the kids to advance their agenda. You know, they lost the Oval Office, they lost the Capitol, so now they've turned to the children. The last secure bastion of liberal stronghold, the public education system. Let's look at that next time. I have lit the lamps to the Church Belfry Arch. Now you let me know you see they're on by going to our website, brainmassage.net. Brainmassage.net. Write me an email. God bless you. God bless America. And I'll see you in church.